Hi there guys, welcome back to the channel. It is time for another Palace preview, this time for our Boxing Day fixture against West Ham at Selhurst Park. I mean, these fixtures coming thick and fast. Love it. Love all the football around Christmas. And yeah, it's another big game, not just for the fans, but obviously for the team. This is a big game, not just obviously it's a London derby, but in terms of our position in the table now and that really poor defeat against Newcastle last time out at the weekend. Really poor defeat, really, because over the course of 90 minutes, I thought we deserved at least a point from that game, and had chances to win it. And really, it was only one lapse in concentration at the back, and Newcastle pounced. Credit to Almiron getting his first goal, really well taken finish, but really frustrating at 90 minutes. And you can see that in my review of the game, just very frustrated that we didn't come away with more. And in part, it was down to lack of substitutions from Roy at crucial times when we were in the ascendancy. We had Maya, who was there to come on and could have perhaps been the difference. But it's also due to, a lot of injuries in the squad, lack of depth in certain positions. So in some sense, there's two sides to this argument, and it's not as clear cut as Roy out and Roy in my opinion. There's a number of different factors. It's not Roy's fault for most of this. I know there's a lot of people that want Roy out I've seen on social media, but I'm not in that camp at the moment. You still got to bear in mind it's the best start we've ever had to a Premier League season, and a lot of people saying yes, but it's incredibly boring to watch. I'm really struggling to watch this football. In some ways, I do get what you mean. It is frustrating when we're not attacking. We have some brilliant players, like Zaha, obviously, Townsend when he's fit, Benteke and Ayew on their day. We have got players going forward, Ayew especially, I think, this season, who create nice, good moments and can really harm defences if they're allowed to go ahead and, have free reign to attack. But that being said, for me personally, as frustrating as that side can be at times, I do think against certain opposition, it is the right thing to do. Wins and getting points on the board is entertaining to me. I don't really care how 3 points come at this stage. We've never really been a team to, worry about a style of play or a beautiful style of play to get us points. As long as points are on the board, I'm entertained, seeing us within touching distance of top six as of a few weeks ago. We've dropped off a bit since then, but as of a few weeks ago, challenging really in the mix for a top six finish and having the best start ever to a Premier League season, that's entertaining to hear from me, so it's a whole big debate, and I'm not saying one side's right, one side's wrong. I'm very much neutral in this, but I say neutral. I don't want Roy to go. I don't think it's fair at this point to say Roy out because of the start of the season we've had. I think he's done very well with the lack of funds he's had as well. And my point would just be to let's all relax. It's Christmas. It's a good time of year. Everyone wants the club to do well. I want the club to do as well as we possibly can, and whether that's with Roy at the helm or not, remains to be seen. But whatever happens, as long as we're getting points on the board, you can't criticise. We're Crystal Palace at the end of the day. We've never had a period of success in terms of consistency in the top flight like this. And yes, I want us to kick on. Absolutely, I want us to kick on, go to the next level and challenge, strive to get into that top 10 and top 6. But you've got to realise, the budget that the top teams have, it is incredibly difficult, and it means you have to have the season of your life. You have to be consistent, and with the lack of depth in certain positions we have, and also Roy's style of play, that combination, it does make it difficult at times. And I know sometimes I sound like I'm contradicting myself the way I talk about Roy, but I'm very much, I'm not wanting him to go because of the start he's done. He's done an incredible job with the team he has at the moment, the injuries and the lack of funds he has. So I think he deserves a chance here. And that's all I'm going to say on the matter. Let's get on to the West Ham preview. I do think that this game is massive, as I mentioned, in terms of the league table. A win, and all of a sudden we're flying back up and we're looking forward and up the table. Instead of a defeat, we could potentially be looking over our shoulders, 8 points above the drop as it stands. I don't think we are going to go down, but you just have to be wary of these things. You don't want to go on a bad run of form now. We are without a win in 3, 2 draws and a defeat. If you go before that, obviously we were unbeaten in 3 games before the defeat to Newcastle. So West Ham, of course, they're struggling as well. This is a great time on paper to play them. I did see a stat that Felipe Anderson hasn't scored in over 240 appearances now, 240 games for... Not games, sorry, 240 minutes, I believe it is, for West Ham. So I don't know. It's to be typical Palace for him to score against us. I think he's obviously a danger man to watch. When you look at theirs, they've got so many good players, West Ham. They've got so many good players and a good manager on paper in Pellegrini. It's always been about them gelling together and it being a right fit. You know, you can have very, very good individuals, but are they good enough in a team performance, the togetherness, to have the, you know, just in a team performance, it's so crucial, you know, not to have 11 individuals on the pitch, to have one team. And I think that has been a problem with West Ham for a number of seasons now. They've always, last couple of seasons especially, they've thrown a lot of money into the squad, and it hasn't really, the results haven't really shown. And Pellegrini is probably a couple of defeats away, you'd think, as a neutral, from getting the sack. I don't know whether he has much longer left if he keeps this poor run of form going. He had a crucial win a few weeks ago to keep his job. Effectively. I think he was very much on the borderline of getting sacked. But looking ahead in this game in particular, at home at Sellers Park, Boxing Day fixture, love to see it. I think that Roy will probably have had a little bit of thinking time from that Newcastle game. I think that the lineup was correct going into the Newcastle game, and I think he will play the same lineup again. I think it worked very well in certain points going forward. It was just the finishing. It was just not being clinical enough in those key areas to get the ball in the back of the net. Another day, we probably would have won that by a couple of goals if we could actually finish. So hopefully the players sort that out in training this week. I'm hoping for the same lineup as I mentioned, so Guaita in goal. I don't know whether, well, Sacco is back from suspension, so perhaps Sacco slots into the back four alongside Tompkins. That was such a great partnership a couple of seasons ago. So rock solid, those two. I love them as a partnership. And obviously Kay was out for a little longer because he's had surgery on his foot. And then I think it would be Van Arnholt and Martin Kelly. Although Ward is back in training, I don't think he'll be ready for Boxing Day. So that would be my back four with Guaita in goal. Of course, he's been subject to interest from Manchester City. More about that during the transfer window. And then the midfield, I would go exactly the same way again. I'd love to see Meyer start, but I'm thinking with Roy's head on here. I think he's thinking that West Ham have got so many dangerous players that can rip us apart on their day, you know, and they've also got quite an open back line with, I know they've got Declan Rice and Noble as the two defensive midfielders, but they still seem fairly open, you know, at times. They've been leaking goals at an alarming rate. So with that in mind, I think that Roy will not think that Meyer is a must in this starting lineup to unlock, you know, a deep lying defence. I think he'll feel that there will be chances coming our way and that we don't necessarily need him. Now, for me personally, I want to see Meyer start. I still to this day think he is one of our better players in the squad. I know he hasn't had the minutes and people haven't really seen much of him, but he is, talent alone, one of the best players, if not second behind Wilf, as the best player in the team, just purely on talent and natural talent, natural flair. So I'd love to see him in the team more regularly, but I do think Roy will go with the same midfield and Benteke Ayew up front, with Zaha obviously floating around them as well. And I do think we got enough to get it over the line. We're going to be a counter-attacking. We know how Roy's going to set up for this. For me, against West Ham, it's probably the best way to go because, as I mentioned, they are quite vulnerable to a counter-attack. If we do get an early goal, we saw against Arsenal how West Ham can capitulate if they let one in. And, you know, if we can then quickly try and drive for the second straight after, that will be a massive test for Roy. If we do go 1-0 up, how he reacts to that. And also how he reacts, of course, if we go 1-0 down early on, because coming back from behind, we've not been too good this season. We rarely get back to a winning position from being 1-0 down. So first goal's massive in this. We've got to have some more grit, determination. Brighton was so poor, and Newcastle, although we were better, the tempo was still slow. I want to see us with a quicker tempo. We are so effective when we're knocking the ball around quickly, getting it straight into Will's feet, getting it into Ayew's feet. He's been brilliant with Ayew in terms of driving forward with the ball. I just want to see a lot quicker in terms of tempo and energy. And I do think at the end of the day, we will have enough to beat West Ham. It's going to be very tight. These games have been incredibly tight over the years. We have West Ham beating us convincingly at times. But in recent seasons, we've obviously come behind to get a draw. We've beaten them last season. So I think that it's a good time to play West Ham right now. I think it's a good fixture to have a London derby on Boxing Day. I just hope the players are up for it and they really give it a great go, because a win and all of a sudden we're looking great going into the new year. So for score predictions, I'm going to go Palace 2,
West Ham 1. Scoring has been a problem for us, so I wouldn't be surprised if we don't even get 2 goals on the board. If we get 1 goal, I think it will be more realistic. But I do think that it will be a lot more open than previous games against Brighton and Newcastle and Watford. I do think this will be a lot more open, and there could definitely be goals in this. But knowing the way that Roy likes to set up, I think it will be more about keeping a clean sheet first than really going gung-ho and opening them up. So my prediction in this is 2-1 to Palace. Let me know your thoughts down below, guys. And of course, have a fantastic Christmas. I will be back, obviously, for the New Year game as well in Norwich. I will be at the West Ham game. So some really good fixtures coming up. Hope you have a great Christmas. Like, share, subscribe. See you guys all next time.